Lesson 7, Commitment by Don Crow. Luke 14:25-26, and there went a great multitude with him, and he turned and said unto them, If any man come to me, and hate not his father and mother and wife and children and brethren and sisters, yes, and his own life also, he cannot be my disciple. At this time in Jesus' ministry, there were multitudes of people who followed Jesus, and the English language doesn't bring this out, but in the Greek language, this is an imperfect tense. This means at the time, the great multitudes began to repeatedly and continuously follow Jesus. Perhaps it was because of his miracles or because he fed them. We don't know the exact reason, but great multitudes were following him. At this time Jesus turned and deliberately said something which appears to have caused many people to turn and follow him no more. If any man comes to me, that means to go with me or wants to accompany me, wants to follow me. This is the requirement. And hate not his father and mother and wife and children and brethren and sisters, yes, and his own life, he cannot be my disciple. As I looked into the scripture, I thought, Lord, you can't mean that. What does that word hate mean? It probably means to love less or something like that. As I began to study, however, I discovered that the word literally means hate. Jews used the strongest possible words to emphasize a point. He said, unless you hate your father, your mother, your sister, your brother, even your own life, you can't be my disciple. I want to ask you something. What is the closest relationship you will ever have on this earth? It's your mother and your father, or your spouse and children. What happens if your wife turns against you and divorces you, or your mother and father die? Who will stick with you then? It'll be your brothers and your sisters. Jesus said, unless you hate them, you can't be my disciple. What is he saying? Jesus is talking about the closest relationships we will ever have. He is asking for a commitment from you, a commitment in which he is preeminent. Words are hard. He wants to be number one in your life. He is going to compare his relationship with you to the closest relationships you have on earth. Hate is a metaphor or a word of comparison, and Jesus is saying, my relationship with you is so important, I want it to be above all earthly things. There is one person you love more than your wife, your children, your mother, your father, your sisters, and brothers. Do you know who that is? It's not God, it's you. You love yourself more than your closest relationships. Why do marriages break up? Why do people divorce? Because they love themselves rather than love their spouse. You're not doing it like I want you to, so I'm getting rid of you. That's in quotations. Jesus said there is one relationship. I want to be number one above. It's your own selfish life. This is a true discipleship. He's not talking about non-cost discipleship. He's asking us to follow him, and he's asking to be number one in our lives.